So Manchester United miss out on Antoine Semenyo, but there's already been a link with an £87 million alternative. And the big question now is, what do United do next? Especially with the concerns still around the midfield. We'll run through all the latest there, plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Welcome to Man United Review. Let's jump straight into it. So firstly, just going to start by saying I'm going to be away after today for a few days. Probably won't be back until about Monday. I just want to thank you all for your support for the channel this year, for watching, subscribing, liking, getting involved in the comments and everything like that as well. So big shout out to all of yous there. I hope for those that celebrate, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas and time with your friends and family and loved ones and everything like that. But I'll probably not be back till probably Monday. I think I'm having some time away with the family over the weekend. But so Merry Christmas to you all, and thank you very much for your support on the channel. Right, let's go through the news. So you've probably already seen this, unless you've been living under a rock over the last few days. But obviously the talk of the town has been the Semenyo deal. Unfortunately, we had a bomber yesterday from David Ornstein and not in our favour. So for those that haven't seen it, David Ornstein, Antoine Semenyo's preference is to join Manchester City in January. Nothing formal until market opens, but Bournemouth attacker favours Man City. Man United pushed hard, but never planned to use the never planned to use the 25-year-old at wing back. But winter switch was always tough for Man United. So David Ornstein with the bomber, confirming that Antoine Semenyo's preference is going to go to Manchester City, which is, a little bit of a blow, but hardly surprising considering, he's not a Man United fan and, the difference in where the clubs are at the moment, the kind of narrative going around is he wants to, be constantly in the Champions League, winning trophies, and you can't blame a player for that at the moment because we're in a position where we don't know if we're going to finish 5th or 15th at the minute with the inconsistencies. And it does bum me out a little bit because I just keep thinking, would we have been in a stronger position had we beaten West Ham, beaten Everton, beaten Bournemouth, Villa? We could have maybe got a point from. We'd be in a much more secure position in the league, and would that have made a difference? I'm not entirely convinced personally, but yeah. So and it was a crazy day yesterday for news. We had, Chelsea entering the race. Then Romano was coming out saying Liverpool have made calls as well. So then there was a 4-horse race between Chelsea, Liverpool, us and City. And then there was a story, I think, from Chris Wheeler saying he was tipping more towards City. And then obviously we got the David Ornstein bomber as well. But it is what it is. Can't no point crying over spilt milk, is there? But a few other bits that have come out since that. So Ben Jacobs, I think, did a good summary on it. So Manchester United made a strong pitch to Antoine Semenyo, but remained disciplined in their approach. Competitive offer made, but club aware. There was heavy competition. There were no plans to utilise Semenyo as a predominant wing-back, despite suggestions Ruben Amorim would build a new system around him. Man United viewed Semenyo as a winger and attacker. Amorim's system was not a factor in Semenyo's decision-making progress. All clubs who made a salary offer did so in a similar financial ballpark, but United not prepared to break their wage structure to go higher than rivals. So United sticking with their guns of this new approach from Ineos to not outbid players in terms of salary, because that's caused half of the problem that we are in at the moment. Look at the players that we cannot get rid of still. Sancho's out on loan, had to run his contract down because of his salary. Rashford's on loan for the same reason as well. We've wanted to get rid of Casemiro for 2 years, can't because of his salary demands. Maguire would have been sold 2 years ago, but he wanted a severance pay from us to go to West Ham because of his salary as well. So while, it's going to be upsetting, and I'm sure some of you are going to be frustrated as well regarding that, I do think that we have to maintain the discipline there because, and it's not just that, you're then signing players that are here for the wrong reasons. You're here for financial gain, like we've seen with Alexis Sanchez in the past, and these sort of nonsense mistakes need to end. The proof is in the pudding with Mbeumo and Cunha. Those are players that want to be here, and they were offered higher salaries elsewhere as well, but they decided to come. They wanted to come to United, and I think we're seeing the proof in that as well by their performances on the pitch. No longer are we bringing in players just because we're outbidding teams in terms of salary. Alexis Sanchez would have wanted to go to City. We offered him a ridiculous wage. Harry Maguire, the same thing as well, although some of it was the transfer fee as well, because we ended up paying £80 million for him. We have made these mistakes continuously in the past. So actually, if United are now maintaining discipline on that and saying, no, this is our sort of base salary that we're offering top players that want to come in, And if you want more than that, then we're not prepared to do it because it sets the wrong culture and the wrong environment. So that's fair enough. That could just be sour grapes though as well. That could just be United putting that out there to save face because nobody likes losing transfers, do they? Especially to one of you, to your main rival in Manchester City. But them's the reports regarding that. And Simon Stone said the same thing as well. Manchester United were not willing to break their wage structure to sign Semenyo, and seems player opted against United anyway. Amrin wasn't planning to use him as wing back. So the narrative going around, or that seems to be a brief from the club, was one: we were definitely in for him. We tried everything we could to get Semenyo. He's obviously decided to go to City for footballing reasons, trophies, and all of that stuff as well. And they're in a much more stable position than United at the moment, which is fair enough. We weren't prepared to break the wage structure, so maybe suggesting that City have offered more wages, in which they're in a better position to be able to do that anyway. But then also interestingly, it wasn't to do with the wing back situation, that actually we were planning to use him as a forward in the attacking area. Romano was saying that Amrin was one of the pitches to Semenyo was that they were planning to change the shape or change the system to accommodate Semenyo, which shows how highly Amrin rated the player and really wanted the player as well, considering he said that, the Pope can't make him change his system. Although that's a little bit misleading, because he did say that reference to the Pope not changing the system was that he wasn't prepared to do it at that time. He's always said he's happy to change the system, but when he feels ready to do so, which is actually really interesting, because is that part of the long-term plan now? Are we planning now to maybe go into like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or whatever it may be? Because and if that is the case, I do still think that we'll need wingers going forward, because realistically we've only really got Ahmad and Mbeumo that can play in the wide areas. Cunha possibly could as well, but I wouldn't class Cunha as like an out-and-out winger if we're going to play like a 4-3-3 or with two wide forwards rather than like narrow 10s like we do at the moment, which could be a total change in transfers going forward. But that's the latest on Semenyo. Missed out. He's chose to go to City, and it is what it is. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. But, just like night turns in a day, things move on very fast in terms of transfers. So we've already been linked with a Semenyo alternative. So this actually came out before Semenyo made his decision, from Alex Crook, who I would say take with a pinch of salt, but saying that Manchester United are the latest club keeping track on Leipzig rising star Yan Diomande. Diomande has become one of the most sought-after players in Europe, prompting Leipzig to place an £87 million price tag on his head. United have identified Diomande as a potential target if they fail to land Semenyo, which obviously we have, although they will not pursue their interest in him until this summer. Now, I think he's only just joined RB Leipzig in the summer, so this is going to be a summer deal, and I don't know whether we've got £87 million available for January. I highly doubt that. That's what made Semenyo so desirable, was because £65 million plus. I was reading yesterday, before it was all announced and stuff, that apparently his release clause is like £20 million up front, and then you can structure the rest over the period of the contract as well. So it's a £20 million outlay for the club for this PSR year as well, which again is a really good deal for Semenyo. But going back to Diomande, this is about the second or third time I think we've been linked with Diomande, so he's a really interesting profile of player. We'll go through the rest of the news and then we'll have a look at his data and stuff. But Peter O'Keefe, who is actually a good Tottenham Hotspurs journalist, has said that Manchester United like RB Leipzig winger Yan Diomande a lot. So, but I don't know what his connections are like with United, whether he's heard that through the grapevine because maybe Tottenham are interested or have been looking at him, or he was doing some research around that. And it's turned out that he's been told that United really like Yan Diomande. Who knows? And then another, Dylan Bennett, who's actually fairly decent, said that missing out on Semenyo, however, will not end United's pursuit of another player, and Yan Diomande is someone United are expected to be in the hunt for over the coming months. They admire the player, but as of right now, no concrete talks between clubs have taken place as of yet. Diomande is likely to be a summer transfer for United. So all roads are pointing to, suggesting at the moment that potentially Diomande might be seen as an alternative to Semenyo. I'd still want to see a little bit more credibility than when those stories are coming from, but he's an interesting profile. Definitely, like I said, it's not the first time we've been linked with the player. I like him actually. I think he looks like a really talented player. I'm sure I've seen that City were interested in him as well, but obviously whether that will change now that they've gone Semenyo, but who knows? They might get bored of Semenyo in a few months and decide to buy him like they've had with Mamouche and bits like that as well. But yeah, he's actually in AFCON at the moment playing with our boy Ahmad. 14 appearances, 6 goals, 2 assists so far this season. 19 years of age, coming up. Just turned 19 years old as well. But really good in terms of like his numbers and stuff. In the top 98 for non-penalty goals, 94 for shot creating actions. Progressive carries, successful take-ons, the top 99% for successful take-ons, touches, good defensive output as well in terms of blocks, interceptions, and tackles. And so for somebody that's 19 years old, it's obviously the question on it would be Premier League proven and all of that stuff. There will be a clear connection though with Christopher Vivel. And obviously we've done a deal this summer with RB Leipzig. Could be one to keep an eye on. Like the reports say, though, it is going to be a summer deal, so not one I'm going to get too particularly excited about at this moment in time, because we've got bigger issues or bigger things to look at for the January window. We've got stuff right in front of our face that we do need to try and fix if we can, without looking to the future. But the interesting thing from there is the reports are, wanting Semenyo to play as a forward and then links with another forward. So is there going to be this shift in formation under Ruben Amorim? So now we're looking at more wide players to facilitate that shift. Who knows? That's going to be interesting to see over the next few months, isn't it? To see how that plays out. But give us your thoughts on Diomande. Good option, bad option? Get involved in the comments. Give us your shouts regarding that. But obviously the biggest question on everybody's lips at the moment is what next? What is next for January? Like, where are we going to go from here? Because we've clearly got money available, so there is money to spend in January. Obviously, Amorim himself in the press conference said, look, we might go for somebody, but it might not be somebody that we're going for a priority. There's been all the noise around not panic buying or anything like that. But the Daily Mail, so Mike Keegan, who's good as well, he's done a really good article, actually. I'm not going to go through it today. It's Christmas Eve. You've got way more better things, I'm sure, to be doing with your time than going through. It's like about 2 years about the Glazers, highlighting the changes and bits that they've made as well. But one of the key takeaways I found in the report, it was saying that as it stands, United are ready and in position to back Ruben Amorim this transfer window. While the club will not do anything silly, according to those with knowledge of the situation, should the right opportunity arise, they will be ready to act, be that a loan player, a permanent move, or both. So that's really interesting because, we've not been told no short-term signings, i.e. loan deals and stuff like that as well. But Mike Keegan suggesting that no, actually they would be okay to do like a loan deal, but they're just not going to do anything silly like a Wout Weghorst, that type of signing. But if like Conor Gallagher, for example, becomes available on loan and they think that actually he is somebody that can be part of the club's future and option to buy, all of that stuff, then maybe that becomes a viable option as well. But the important point there is that the club are ready to back Amorim. It's just about who is available, and we'll have to wait and see what we go. But we've got money available. It's just, can we find somebody that we want that can do a job or is part of the long-term vision of the club that is actually available in January? Now, obviously, one of the players, we've just mentioned him there, Conor Gallagher. Let's go through the latest on him. So this is coming from Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail, saying that United are yet to hold talks with Atletico Madrid over Conor Gallagher, but are already aware that the Spaniards would prefer to sell him in a permanent £35 million deal rather than agree a loan move to Old Trafford. Confidential revealed last week that Elliot Anderson, Adam Morton, Carlos Baleba, Tyler Adams, and João Gomez are among the other midfield options being discussed. So are any of those going to be potentially available? We'll go through updates on I think there's an update on João Gomez I'm going to go through with you in a second. Most of those wouldn't be available until the summer, but Gallagher 25 is an option for January, and so too former Wolves captain Ruben Neves, who is looking to leave Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal. So 2 names mentioned there, but like Chris Wheeler is saying, yet to hold talks with Atletico Madrid over Conor Gallagher, but we're aware of his situation. Obviously, we did hold talks and discuss bits with with Atletico in the summer as well. But again, I don't know. We need to wait and see what United decide to do. And I'm recording this video just before Ruben Amorim's press conference as well, so maybe he'll give something away in there ahead of the game on Boxing Day against Newcastle. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Now, as mentioned in the report from Chris Wheeler, the other midfielder is João Gomez, potentially could be one. Let's go back. So this has come out in the Manchester Evening News. I think this is going back to what David Ornstein, though, said before regarding João Gomez. So the Athletic's David Ornstein claims no talks have taken place between Wolves and Man United over Gomez, but the club may still look to cash in during January. There's been reports about João Gomez. Sources around Molineux are sort of playing it down, Ornstein said on NBC News. There's been no club-to-club talks at this point, and of course, if Wolves are staring at relegation come January, they might look to cash in on him then. Other options, Manchester United clearly like Anderson, Wharton and Baleba. They're the three usual suspects when it comes to the midfield. So that's an interesting point from David Ornstein, saying that, look, if they are still staring at relegation in January, then maybe he would become available, because it makes more financial sense for Wolves to cash in on him at that particular point in time than maybe wait to the summer when clubs can come in and underbid for João Gomez, because, you know, if they're relegated, it's going to reduce his value and his cost. So maybe that could be something that we look at towards the end of the January transfer window if Wolves are still staring down the barrel of relegation. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see what happens regarding where we pivot to now, because like I said, we know we've got money available. We know actually the priority is midfield. It's just, is anyone going to become available? And I'd like to hope that we have other players on the list though as well. Like, surely the scouts are doing scouting things and the data analysts are doing data analyst stuff. And, you know, does it need to be Wharton, Anderson and Baleba? Is there not anybody around the world that can come in that fits the bill of what we're looking for, that fits the profile? Surely there is, and surely maybe we could do something there. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see what they want to do and what the plans are. Another name linked is Alex Scott. So Manchester United are monitoring Bournemouth's Alex Scott as part of their shortlist for midfield options. That's coming from the Mirror. Not the first time we've been linked with Scott as well. I actually thought he did quite well against us when in the 4-4 draw the other day. I actually thought he was quite a good player, English, young, Premier League proven, all of that stuff. Not the first time we've been linked with Scott as well. It's about the second or third time, so I would maybe put him on the list of potential midfield targets, as well as the 35 odd other targets that we've been linked with for that particular position. Whether Bournemouth are going to sell in January, though, obviously they're going to get dollar for Semenyo. I don't know their financial situation. I think it's unlikely, because if they're not going to do anything with Tyler Adams, I don't think they'll do anything with Alex Scott in January either. But it is a name to potentially keep an eye on, I suppose, for that particular position. Now, there's been the links with and again, this is the second or third time I think we've been linked with this particular player. So this is coming from reports in Brazil. So Manchester United remain one of the clubs monitoring Breno Beden, but the race for the Corinthians midfielder has gained new layers in recent days. Atletico Madrid continue to circle, while Portugal's Sporting have now emerged as another serious contender ahead of January. Reports in Brazil suggest Beden's recent display in a big final against Vasco has caught fresh attention from Europe. The 20-year-old impressed in a high-pressure setting, which reinforced the belief that he has the profile many European clubs look for in young midfielders. And I was thinking this, if Atletico were looking at him, is that because of Conor Gallagher going to be potentially leaving as well? But again, this is the second or third time I think we've been linked with Biden, as some of you mentioned in the comments, I remember from previous videos. Man United have also tracked Biden closely, as previously reported, while the Premier League club are yet to make a formal move. Their interest places them among the growing list of European size watching developments. And it says here that he's got like a 100 million euro release clause, but could be available for around 18 to 20 million euros as well. So again, interesting option. I'm not sure that would be, somebody to come in to help us for the here and now, a development or a potential sort of player, but really interesting profile. Does actually look like a tenacious type midfielder, someone I could see, developing into becoming a Premier League midfielder. But not entirely convinced that he would be ready to come in and hit the ground running. And that's what we need, isn't it? We do need somebody that can come in and make a difference, and actually improve that particular area of the pitch as well. Not that we can wait and see how they get on and give it a couple of years and so, but yeah, interesting name. Keep an eye on any developments there for you and bring you any updates if they come out. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. So overall, bit of a blow with Semenyo, but no point crying over spilt milk, is there? We tried, we did everything we could. He's decided to go to Manchester City because why would he not, I suppose, at this particular moment in time, especially if you're on the hunt for trophies and regular Champions League football. If that's your preference, then that is what it is, and it's always going to be difficult competing, even with Chelsea, Liverpool coming into the frame as well. It's not like he had not that he had, bad clubs all going in for him and we've been let down there. But interesting though that we were planning to change the formation potentially around Semenyo, which is, is there an indication of that's the long-term plan now going forward? The vision under Ruben Amorim, links with £87 million Yan Diomande. More for the summer though, so we'll pay attention to that. Obviously, we've got more pressing issues with, what are we going to do next? So it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see what we pivot to, who we pivot to, if we pivot to anybody, or we're just going to go with what we've got and, say, well, there's no one available, so we're just going to save the money and do more business in the summer. Who knows? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens regarding that. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And for those that celebrate, have an absolutely fantastic Christmas. See you in the next one.